Hello, everyone. Hey, I just want to say something real quick. If you're here right now, whether you've been around for a bit or this is your first time clicking, I appreciate it. I really do. The fact that you're showing up, that you're here, that you're willing to sit with whatever this is, that means something. So, yeah, welcome. Let's get into it. Okay, so something's about to land in your space. And I need you to stay with me on this because the feeling around it, it's already here. You might already be sensing it. This anticipation, this awareness that something's coming that you're not entirely prepared for, something that's going to require you to respond, to process, to figure out what you actually feel in real time. And here's the thing. It's not about whether it's good news or bad news. It's not about whether this is something you've been waiting for or something you've been dreading. It's about the intensity of it, the weight of it, the way it's going to sit in your body when you see those words or hear that voice. Does that make sense to you? Because there's this moment that happens when communication lands, when someone reaches out and says something that cuts through the surface. It's something that bypasses all the casual, all the comfortable, all the predictable, and it hits different. And you can feel it already, can't you? You can feel that there's something brewing, something that's going to require more from you than just a quick response, something that's going to make you pause, make you think, make you feel things you might not want to feel right now. Have you noticed that too? And the tricky part is not knowing exactly what it's going to be, not knowing the exact words, the exact tone, the exact energy that's going to come through. You just know that when it lands, it's going to be significant. It's going to be something you have to sit with. Maybe it's something you've been waiting for. Maybe it's clarity you've been needing. Maybe it's honesty you've been craving. Or maybe it's something you didn't see coming, something that shifts your understanding of a situation, something that makes you reconsider what you thought you knew. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. And here's what's interesting about intense communication. It doesn't just carry information, it carries energy, it carries emotion, it carries the weight of everything that's been unsaid, everything that's been building, everything that's been sitting in the space between you and whoever this is coming from. So when it lands, when you see that notification, when you hear that ringtone, when you open that message or answer that call, it's not just words you're receiving. It's everything underneath the words, everything that's been accumulating, everything that's been waiting to be expressed. Does that make sense to you? And the speechless part, the part where you might not know what to say, that's real. Because sometimes communication comes at you with such force, with such directness, with such clarity or confusion or emotion that your immediate response is just nothing, just silence, just this need to absorb it before you can even begin to formulate a reply. And that's okay. You don't have to have an instant response. You don't have to know immediately how you feel about what you're hearing or reading. You're allowed to be caught off guard. You're allowed to need time to process. Have you noticed that pattern in yourself? Because here's what happens when intense communication lands. It activates things in you, old patterns, old fears, old hopes, old wounds. It brings up questions you thought you'd resolved. It surfaces feelings you thought you'd moved past. It makes you confront things you might have been avoiding. And that's why it can leave you speechless. Not because you don't have thoughts or feelings, but because you have too many all at once. And sorting through them, figuring out what's real and what's reaction, what's clarity and what's confusion, that takes time. Does that make sense to you? And I think what's important to recognize is that you're already preparing for this. Even if you don't realize it, your system is already bracing. Your mind is already running scenarios. Your body is already holding tension around what might be said, what might be revealed, what might be asked of you. And that preparation, it's not paranoia, it's intuition. It's your awareness picking up on the energy of something approaching. Something that's going to require your full attention, your full presence, your full honesty. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. Now, here's where it gets complicated. Because when you know something intense is coming, when you can feel it building, there's a temptation to try to control it, to rehearse your response, to plan what you're going to say, to protect yourself by being ready, being guarded, being strategic. But that's not actually what serves you here. Because the moment this communication lands, all your preparation might go out the window anyway. You might feel completely different than you thought you would. You might react in ways you didn't plan. You might discover that what you thought you knew about how you'd handle this, it doesn't match the reality of actually being in it. Does that make sense to you? So maybe instead of trying to prepare your response, what you need to prepare is your capacity to be present. Your ability to feel what you feel without immediately trying to fix it or explain it or defend against it. Your willingness to let the communication land fully before you decide what it means or what you're going to do about it. Have you noticed that challenge in yourself? Because intense communication, it deserves to be received. Not just heard or read, but actually received. And receiving something means letting it affect you, letting it touch the places in you that it's going to touch, letting yourself have whatever reaction comes up, even if it's messy, even if it's not what you expected, even if it doesn't fit the version of yourself you want to present. And that's vulnerable. That's really vulnerable because it means you can't control the moment. You can't script it. You can't manage how you're perceived or how the conversation goes. You just have to be in it and trust that you'll find your way through it as it unfolds. Does that feel true for you? And here's something else. When communication is this intense, when it has this much weight, it's going to reveal things about you, about the other person, about the dynamic between you, about what's actually true versus what you've been telling yourself is true. And sometimes those revelations are clarifying. They help you see clearly what you need to do, what you need to say, what you need to choose. But sometimes they're just confusing. They add more questions. They complicate things further. They leave you more uncertain than you were before. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar. And if that happens, if this communication lands and it doesn't give you clarity, if it leaves you more confused or conflicted, that's information too. That tells you something about where things actually are, about what's really going on beneath the surface. Because not all intense communication resolves things. Sometimes it just intensifies them, makes them more present, forces you to acknowledge what you've been avoiding, acknowledging. And that can be harder to handle than getting clear answers, because clear answers, even difficult ones, give you something to work with. But intensification without resolution, that just leaves you sitting with more weight, more complexity, more uncertainty. Does that make sense to you? So what do you do with that? How do you handle receiving something that might leave you speechless, that might not give you what you need, that might just add more layers to an already complicated situation? You stay with yourself. You stay grounded in what you know to be true about who you are and what you need. You don't let the intensity of someone else's communication pull you off center. You don't let their words, their energy, their emotion determine your worth or your clarity or your path forward. Have you noticed that challenge? Because here's what can happen when intense communication lands. You can get swept up in it. You can start orienting your entire emotional state around what was said, what wasn't said, what it might mean, what you should do about it. And before you know it, you've lost touch with yourself. You've made their communication more important than your own internal knowing. And that's when things get really confusing, because you're trying to figure out how to respond to them when you're not even connected to yourself anymore. Does that make sense to you? So maybe the real preparation here isn't about what you're going to say or how you're going to react. Maybe it's about strengthening your connection to yourself before this lands, so that when it does, when you're reading those words or hearing that voice, when you're feeling all the feelings that come up, you have a solid center to come back to. A place inside yourself that knows what's true for you, that knows what you need, that knows what you're available for and what you're not, that can hold the intensity without being consumed by it. Tell me in the comments if this feels familiar, because the communication itself, that's going to be what it is. You can't control it. You can't predict it exactly. You can't prepare for every possible thing that might be said, but you can control your relationship with yourself during it. You can choose to stay connected to your own truth, even when someone else's words are trying to pull you in a different direction. And maybe that's the real skill here. Not having the perfect response, not knowing exactly what to say, but staying rooted in yourself while intense energy is moving through your space. Does that make sense to you? And after it lands, after you've received it, after you've had your initial reaction, give yourself time. Don't force yourself to respond immediately if you're not ready. Don't let someone else's urgency become your urgency. Don't sacrifice your clarity just to ease the tension of an unanswered message or an ongoing conversation. You're allowed to sit with it. You're allowed to feel your way through it. You're allowed to wait until you actually know what you want to say instead of just saying something to fill the space. Have you noticed that pressure in yourself? Because sometimes the most powerful response to intense communication is no immediate response at all. It's taking the space you need. It's honoring your process. It's refusing to be rushed into clarity you don't actually have yet. And if that makes the other person uncomfortable, that's okay. Their discomfort with your need for time doesn't obligate you to rush. Their desire for immediate resolution doesn't override your need for careful consideration. Does that feel true for you? So yeah, something intense is approaching your space. A text, a call, communication that's going to carry weight, that's going to require something from you, that might leave you speechless, at least initially. And you're already feeling it, already sensing the energy of it, already preparing in whatever way you know how. And what I want you to remember is you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know exactly what to say or how to feel or what to do. You just have to stay with yourself. Stay grounded. Stay honest about what's actually true for you in each moment as this unfolds. The communication is going to be what it is, but your relationship with yourself during and after it, that's where your power is. That's what you can control. That's what will determine whether this moment strengthens you or destabilizes you. So prepare by deepening into yourself, by getting clear on what you know, by trusting that you'll find the words, the response, the clarity when you're actually ready for them. Not before, not on someone else's timeline, but on yours. I don't sell futures, I build architects. No predictions, just the raw truth for the tough ones. Stay magic, stay in the now.